There was a Sunday school teacher who was asking her students, how many of you want to go to heaven? And all of them raised their hand, except for Billy. And the teacher said, Billy, don't you want to go to heaven? He said, yes, but not with this bunch. So here we are, beloved, together, listening to God speak to our hearts in his holy word, and allowing his precious body and blood to transform us into living images of Jesus, that we might be witnesses and proclaimers of his salvation. As the first reading from Isaiah tells us that the people who lived long ago have been liberated, they have been freed, that light has shined on all of those who were in the shadow of death. And we too know that Christ Jesus, by his death and resurrection, has lifted up all that burdens us and all that prevents us from experiencing his beautiful salvation. And St. Paul reminds the Corinthians, we are all called to be one. There should be no divisions among us, that our unity might proclaim the glory of the risen Lord. So what a wonderful task we have. Just as Jesus called James and John, Andrew, Simon, we too, through our holy baptism, have been commissioned to be the presence of Jesus in this wounded, broken world. That through the power of the cross, as we carry our own crosses daily, we might be living examples of what God can do in each one of our lives. This is so wonderful that we are called, we are commissioned, and we are sent, just like those early apostles, to allow God's grace to work its wonders in our hearts, sinful as we might be, through the power of Christ's mercy and his sacrament, and also in the beautiful sacrament of confession, we may constantly be aware of our mission in this passing world, that we are here for a very brief while, and our true home is with God in heaven. We are called to be holy, of one mind and heart, that we might proclaim that salvation has truly been effected in our daily lives. I think of this powerful movie called Saving Private Ryan, in which a young captain, his name was Captain Miller, challenged this group of soldiers to go into the most dangerous spot to rescue Private Ryan. Two of his brothers had been killed, and the mother of these sons was devastated. So the Army decided, since she had no more sons except Private Ryan, that the soldiers would go in and rescue him at the name of the movie, Saving Private Ryan. And this wonderful, beautiful captain, Captain Miller, had been a school teacher, and he was a very sensitive and feeling young man. And he had told Private Ryan, that whatever situation you are, do your very best, the best you can do. And it was so precious. At the end of the movie, Private Ryan, years later, goes to the cemetery in Normandy, where Captain Miller was buried. And he remembered those beautiful words that Captain Miller told him, always do the very, very best you can. I think of this great hymn, rise up, O men of God, have done with lesser things, give heart and soul and mind and strength to serve the King of Kings. Rise up, O men of God, the church for you doth wait, her strength unequal to her task. Rise up and make her great. So, beloved, we are commissioned to empower our brothers and sisters to be church and to be witnesses of the glory of God. I will never forget, sometimes in military situations, soldiers and Marines and sailors are called to learn difficult exercises so that when the day of battle comes, having prepared mentally and physically and emotionally, they will be ready to do their mission in the time of battle. I remember years ago, I went into the Navy as a chaplain, a priest. And during our training up in Rhode Island, they had this humongous swimming pool. It was the biggest swimming pool I ever saw in my life. And in the middle of this swimming pool was the construct of a ship. And affectionately, this ship was called the USS Buttercup. Behave. And it was designed, listen to this, This mock-up of a ship was designed to sink. They had these huge hydraulic things that would pull it down so that it would begin to sink into the water of the swimming pool. And there were holes in this Buttercup ship, holes. And our challenge was to go down into the depths of the ship, and if there was a pipe that was leaking water pouring out, all of the sailors would put a clamp on it and tighten it so that the water would stop. And then if water was coming in the bulkhead, the wall of the ship, we were to take a mattress with a piece of wood and put a stick there to prevent the side wall from overflowing with water. And if everybody worked together, we could literally save the Buttercup from sinking down into the swimming pool. And I was the last person to go down into the depths. I had never been on a ship in my whole life. And they have there what they call ladders, where you go down or up in the ship. And I wasn't aware that you're supposed to go down like this, like backwards. I was trying to go down like Loretta Young in that movie where she comes down this beautiful staircase. And as I was descending into the bowels of this ship, which was pitch dark, and the instructors had special little chamber with a porthole where they could watch to see how the 20 of us sailors were working together to prevent the Buttercup from sinking. And I was going down this ladder in the wrong way, and suddenly from out of nowhere, a blast of freezing water hit me, and it shocked my very being, and it made my foot slip, so that instead of walking down the rest of the ladder, I slipped and fell down into the bottom of the ship, and the water was up to my waist. And I could hear my fellow sailors trying to save the Buttercup by tightening screws and by putting the mattress. But I was in a state of semi-shock, and all I could think of doing was yell out as loud as I could, "God help us, we're all going to die. God help us." So someone grabbed me and shook me and said, "Melley, wake up, grab a bucket, save the Buttercup." So thank God, with their help, together, we prevented the Buttercup from going down into the swimming pool. So all of us must practice every day to be witnesses of Jesus and to be ready to profess our faith, to be strong in avoiding sin through the sacrament of confession, the sacrament of Holy Eucharist. These are the medicine, are the divine grace that keeps us on the track and prepares us for eternal glory in heaven. And in conclusion, beloved, kind of pinging on that little boy that said he didn't want to go to heaven with this particular bunch, I'm thinking of a little village in Ireland where all the town was in this little pub, and they were drinking beer. I think they call it Guinness. And they were having a wonderful time. And suddenly the parish priest broke into the pub, and he screamed out loud. He said, "How many of you guys at the bar want to go to heaven?" And all of the men stopped drinking their beer, and they got over to one side of the bar, the pub, except for one man who stayed at the bar drinking slowly his Guinness. And so the priest screamed at him. He said, "McGlynn, don't you want to go to heaven?" "Oh," he said, "Yes, Father, I do want to go to heaven. But I thought you guys were leaving tonight."